Why do I keep getting rejected from jobs? As a career coach, this is a question I hear all the time. And in today's video, I'm going to go over some of the most common reasons why this is the case, especially for recent graduates or people who are struggling to find a job during coronavirus. For the best college and career advice, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video every single Monday. Now, of course, in this video, I don't have time to go over every single possible reason why you might be rejected from jobs, like the weather was bad in the place where the person reading your application was, and they just had a bad day, and their, refrigerator broke. These are all possible reasons, right? But I'm gonna go over the reasons that are actually within your control, because it's important to acknowledge that a lot of the factors that go into getting a job are not in our control, but certain things are, and that's what we're going to talk about. So moving from a broad higher level to a more specific level. On the broadest possible level, reason number one that you might not be hearing back is because from an HR perspective, you're just not getting seen. What you have to remember is that from the company's point of view, especially if it's a bigger company, they're gonna have so many applicants to the cold apply or the random job posting that they throw up on Indeed. And as a result, they're not going to sift through every single one of those applications. There's a few different barriers that can come up in this case. The first thing is that your resume could be screened out by the ATS software, which is the applicant tracking software that determines this resume does not make the cut because the person doesn't have the right experience, or I scanned this resume and there's not enough years of experience, so we're just going to cut that out right there. Applicant tracking software, first reason. The second thing is that when it comes to hiring, keep in mind that these companies, just like us fundamentally, are lazy. They don't want the perfect candidate, even though the person who writes the job posting, they might be like, oh, the perfect candidate will have XYZ. But in reality, they don't have the time to suss out the perfect candidate. They would rather have a just good enough candidate who can do the job and not cause any waves and just get everything done. They'd rather have that person, and they'd rather have them quickly. And for that reason, if you're applying to big companies, or if you're running into this problem where you just get ghosted and you never hear back, the way to fix that is by securing internal referrals at companies. And I just have a few stats to reel off for you around internal referrals. 40% of jobs get filled through internal referrals, and only 21% get filled via the traditional postings. So that means you're twice as likely to get a job using internal referrals as you do the traditional way, which is to just apply and send your resume through a portal. The other thing to note is that internal referrals, they typically get jobs within 3 weeks, whereas a regular other candidate might take them up to 7 weeks. So your timeline is shortened by a lot because you have someone in the company or in the organization advocating for you who is willing to make sure that your interview gets prioritized, that you get moved along in the process, which results in the whole thing taking a much shorter amount of time. The other thing to note too is that 70% of jobs are not even posted online. When you're looking at the jobs that are available in your area on Indeed or on Glassdoor, that is only a small fraction of what's actually out there. And the reason for that is companies often they don't post them because they already have someone in mind, or they're using their internal networks to feel out if there's someone out there who'd be a good fit. Because like I said, going back to the earliest point, they don't have the time to be going through 40 million resumes. They only have a couple of weeks and they want to get someone in their stat. Always take HR's perspective into account and start getting those internal referrals. That'll be next week's video. So if you're interested in learning a step-by-step process so that you can access the hidden job market, subscribe and stay tuned for that. The second thing, remember, moving from broad level to a more specific, more detail-oriented level. The second thing that may be stopping you or that may be causing you to not hear back from jobs is if you're applying to smaller jobs where there aren't as many people in the pool, it's more likely that an actual human being is going to be reviewing your resume. This is truer for local organizations or just really small organizations. In that case, it's really important to make sure that your resume is on point. And if you want to learn more about that, you can check out my retail resume video. It's all about tailoring your resume, so even if you don't have retail experience, you still want to learn how to figure out how to perfect your resume for certain types of jobs. I highly recommend watching that video. With that being said, it's all about your branding materials in this case. You want to make sure there's no reason for a reader to have any question of a doubt that you are the perfect person, that you are like their soulmate in candidate form. So we want to make sure our resume is on point. Our LinkedIn needs to be equally on point, and I have another video on that, LinkedIn for college students, but I'll probably be making another one about LinkedIn more generally so that it'll go even more in depth to make sure you're getting the most out of LinkedIn, as well as just ensuring that everything about you, everything about your online presence stands out and there's nothing regrettable or mediocre about it. And of course, part of that is just the basic advice of Google yourself. Make sure your Facebook privacy settings are good. Make sure that you don't have anything on there where you're like, wait a second, I forgot to mark that as private, and forgot that everyone can see my weekend in the Bahamas. Again, just be mindful of all of that and how you're perceived, because these companies that are actually taking the time to look through your stuff are Googling you, they are checking out your LinkedIn. So we just want to be mindful of that and put our best face forward. A good analogy that I like to use when it comes to these situations is like dating, because when you find somebody that you're interested in and you do a little bit of research on them, checking out their social medias, checking out their online presence, you are heavily judging what you're going to find. You're not making any, this might sound extreme, but you're not making any exceptions or looking at it from maybe this person was just having an off day and forgot to hide this. It's like, no, I gotta find out everything I can about this person, and I'm evaluating every bit of information to see if they are a good fit. Hopefully that inspires you to take a look at your online presence and to make sure that you fine-tune your resume to the highest possible degree so that whoever reads it goes, damn, this person needs to work for us, because that's the impression that you have to leave in order to secure the job. And then my third bit of advice as to why you might not be hearing back from jobs is a little bit of a hot take, so I want you to stick with me. It actually just might be because you're applying to too many jobs. Okay? Sit in that. Take a breath in. See how that feels. You might be thinking, Stacy, what? I'm supposed to, this is what I'm supposed to do, is apply to 20 jobs a day. Didn't you hear? That's what you're supposed to do in order to get a job. No, we only have so much energy. You only have so much energy each day. And to be spending all of that energy applying for jobs, churning out cold applications, is not going to serve you, because either you're in the first boat that I talked about in this video, where you're applying for bigger companies that are using ATS software and there's so many applicants, it doesn't even make sense for you to be doing that, to be taking that strategy. You need to be getting internal referrals and getting your resume and your work and your value proposition in front of a real life human being. That's what you should be focusing on. So don't even bother there. And then in the second scenario, where you actually do need to tailor your resume and need to make sure that everything you present is on point, the applying to too many job strategy is going to backfire, because you're going to start getting lazy. You're going to start just briefly skimming your resume and thinking, oh, okay, this seems aligned enough, and I'm tired and I just want to hit my quota for today, so I'm just going to send it out and pray. Because then you fall into that trap of spraying and praying. I hate that phrase, because what does it sound like? But it's true. It's the strategy that most people use when they're applying for jobs, is they just spray their resume out like a fire hose, and then they sit back and sip on their drink and pray that somehow that's going to result in a job. Not true. You need to make sure that you do not burn yourself out and you do not allow your standards to fall below a certain point, because that is what's ultimately going to allow you to reveal the excellence that's within you. That's going to allow you to impress the most, not only with your LinkedIn and your resume and everything, but also with your outreach. And it's just going to make a world of difference. So don't apply to too many jobs. Be really, really selective about the ones that you apply to. Stick to, and this isn't to say you shouldn't stick to a certain calendar and have goals when it comes to applying. Like, of course, you need to get stuff done. You can't just be like, oh yeah, Stacy told me I don't have to apply to too many jobs, so I'm just going to sit back and, not really think about it, and that's how I'm going to find a job. Don't do that. But this is just a reminder to be mindful of your energy and to remember that you need to have a high standard of quality in everything that you do in order to get a job. This game is not the way it used to be. You are competing with so many people. And even though that can be stressful, and I don't say this to stress you out, it's also just a reminder that sometimes you got to kick your own ass. Sometimes you got to remind yourself, oh yeah, that's right. I am excellent, and I need to hold myself to that standard of excellence so that employers can see it too. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please drop me a comment telling me what you found the most helpful. Like I said, next week's video is going to be all about getting those internal referrals so that you can bypass most of the nonsense with the job search and get straight into the decision maker's seat so that you can finally land the job of your dreams. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you there.